No, and I don't want to call anybody out, but I do think it's a very, very common struggle that folks deal with. There was a podcast recently that, the title was, 10 reasons why you have to duplicate yourself. And I think that I think we all have to approach that different ways, and kind of knowing when is that time that you need to let go of something and offload it to somebody else, and really like stop having your fingers in the work that people are doing. That's a hard decision, right? Because there's so many things you care about in your brand and everything.
It's a hard decision for any business. If you're bootstrapped, it's, I think, 5 times harder.
Why?
If you're venture backed, you've got 2 or 5 or $50 million, and you go out and you buy professional managers. And the trade-off is, okay, it's not really, you don't really care that much about runway, especially if you're well backed, like for labor, for hiring people. The story is you hire great people, you put them in roles, and they take over, and it's great. The trade-off there is like, well, I want to personally oversee specific things that I really care about. Do I trust this well-paid individual to take this and run with it and follow the vision that maybe is not perfectly articulated because we're a brand new company that's venture backed? Whereas when you're bootstrapped, you're just like, well, I got cash flow here that I got to deal with. I either hire someone cheap and hope they get it and works out.
Yeah.
Or I do it myself because that's just frankly less headache. Or I try and hire someone that I think is going to be really good and it costs more. But if I get that gamble right, we're able to grow and kind of get to the next stage of Bootstrap.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, even now, if you were to look at all the people I'm paying, it's a kind of high head count, but there's really only one person that's actually full-time on one thing. Everybody else is fractional, split fractionally across multiple things. And I'm in that same kind of bootstrap situation you're talking about. So that makes a lot of sense.
So how do you incentivize people who are part-time on your project to do a killer job? Whereas
Right.
if they were in another context where they're full-time, all their energy is focused on that one thing and the incentives are already put together, it's
Right.
just a different conversation.
Do you have any pro tips there?
I think length of a relationship is really important, building trust with people. And then wherever you can, find incentives that you can share. So for instance, if I've been an employee in companies where I have to like get approval to go to the doctor's office.
Yep.
Right? I got to get a doctor's note. A lot of people most people in the workforce are still dealing with that, Dan. I try to remember that at times.
It's true. Like in the tech industry, that's so not a thing anymore. But there are, like, per your point, there's a lot of industries, right, that have not, I won't even say they've not evolved, because tech is just so unique with our ability to work from home. Like, there's kind of a baseline trust that was either created or forced upon us that we've kind of dealt with. But that's not true for a lot of other industries, even still.
It's not true for a lot of industries, like you're saying, but there's also these other trade-offs of like, hey, I'm at the doctor's office. I didn't have to get approval from my CEO, but he's slacking me while I'm in the middle of an exam.
Sure.
Anyway, as far as like tips, I guess, I feel like what's worked for me is building relationships with people that I know I can get along with. I know I can bring them along for the ride. And then as a leader, I'm always selling the vision. Like, hey, we had this success. I see these successes coming up. We're going to get to X point. Whether that's I'm going to pay you more, or we're going to figure out a profit incentive, or I'm going to provide access to whatever things I have, trying to understand what they're motivated by and trying to support them on their journey.
Yep. It's great. It's great. I love it.